I'm just honored that they would even ask that I would come and say anything, that I would be given the opportunity to speak the name Jesus, to just say his word, God, say what he said. And so I've been praying ever since they asked me about this. And God has such a sense of humor. I thought I had what I was going to be talking about. There's just been a word ringing in my spirit now for weeks about where we are as the church. And I've been saying it, and I found out about 2:30 this morning that I guess that word was for me. That wasn't the word for this morning. And so God began to deal with me about something else, and it's still along those lines. But God began to speak to me about the next season, and about the fact that God is sovereign. Wherever we are, whatever season we're going through, wherever place we find ourselves, whatever the circumstances, whatever our situation, God wanted me to remind us this morning that he is sovereign. And that he is not a God who is caught off guard by anything that is taking place, anything that is happening in our lives that we are facing. God's not taken by surprise. He didn't just all of a sudden saw what was happening and say, oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know. He knows. And he knew it before the foundation of the world. He knew it before I was in my mother's womb, before my dad even met my mama and even gave a thought to being my daddy. And so he's not surprised by it. And so God began to deal with me this morning about the next. About us being prepared, us preparing and us walking into the next season. And we've been, of course we miss Trey, we miss the Hammonds, and when you've been with somebody for so long, and when they've been such a blessing, when they've been so many things in so many ways, you miss them. But I came this morning to tell you that God is calling us to the next. And that just as he did for Trey is walking now in his next. He's walking in his next, and for months now, God's been dealing with me about how long? How long are you going to grieve over this? How long are you going to just sit in sorrow? Are you going to sit in mourning? And God told me, he said, it's time to take off that mourning robe. Take off your sackcloth and ashes and just begin again, because this is a new season. And so I want to talk to you this morning about the sovereignty of God in your next. And so one of the scriptures that I had this morning, and I didn't ask Eddie to put that one up there. And of course, it's the familiar one, Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. And it says, for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under the heavens. For everything, whatever you are, wherever you are, whatever your station in life, it's a season, and God already knew about it. He said they would come, and God was already prepared, and God already had a plan for it. God already had the answer for the question for your next season. The other passage of scripture that we're going to look at is going to be Isaiah 45, which deals with the sovereignty of God, and even the more walking into your season. And I want to talk to you about that, but before I get to that point, I want to talk to you about the season. And I'm a person who like to give definitions and to look up words. And when I was looking up season, I looked and it says that seasons is the period of time, the event, the person or thing the time that comes immediately after the present one or the previous one. That's what next is. Next is the next period. It's the next thing that's about to happen. It's the next moment. It's that next thing that is about to happen. And then I looked up season. It says season is the time frame allotted for certain things to happen, and they have one purpose, and that's to cause maturity and fruitfulness. And I'm going to tell you, Trey's time here, he brought us from one place, from where we were then. And I wasn't here through the whole time that Trey was here. But during my time here, Trey brought me from one place where I was, and he helped walk me into the next place that God had called me into. And that's what he did for the church. God used him to take you to the next place, to do the next thing. And what God wanted me to tell you, and I don't want to forget, so I'm going to say it now. God said that we are not to go backwards, but to go forward. See, we don't need to go back and do what Trey has already walked us through. We don't need to start back there and try. No, we go from where he took us to the next place. And that's what God's calling us to. He said it's time for the next level. It's time for the next season. It's time for the next thing that God has called you to. And so for many of us, because we're in that place of grief and, over this, and we look and we see that people have fallen away from the church. They don't have a pastor. We don't have a pastor. And so they stop coming. But let me tell you something. God always has a remnant. He always has a group that he's going to use in the hour that he's in. And no matter what your situation, God has that group there, and they're going to be the one to help walk into the next season. I was looking at Joshua 1, and in the first verse of Joshua 1, God began to speak to the people. Moses has died, and God says to them, he says, this is the word of the Lord. He said, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, he's talking to Joshua because the people are mourning. And he said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I am giving you to the people of Israel. He said, that's his Lord. Moses has brought you to here, but now Joshua is going to take you into the next season. And he said, like he said, Moses is dead. He said, let me just tell you, I know that you miss Moses. I know that you're grieving over Moses. He said, well, let me tell you, Moses is dead. He said, now arise and go. Can I tell you, I hear God saying that to us? Arise and go. I'm not saying forget about what we accomplished with Trey. I'm not saying dismiss that. But God is about truthfulness, and God is about maturity, and whatever he does for the greater. When Jesus left up the scene, what he said, greater works and if you're going to be doing greater works than what Jesus did, surely we're not going to be hindered or stopped by the fact that a human has moved on. He said, get up. Go. God said, I gave you a word. And the good thing about God is Isaiah 46:10 said he declares the evening from the beginning. You know why? Because God already knows what he has planned. He says in Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you. One virgin said, I know the thoughts I think toward you. I know the plan. He said they're planning to give you a hope, a future, an expected end. It was no different than when he told the disciples, when they were out on the boat, he said, let us go to the other side. Because he knew, he didn't say, let us try and see if we can't get to the other side. He said, let us go over to the other side. Why? Because God knew we get to the other side. Can I tell you that God is so certain he already knows that we're going into the new season? Some of us may go kick in the street, but we're going over into the new season. Some of us may have to get left behind. Moses didn't get to go to the new season. God used Moses to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, where they were being held captive. He used them, but because of disobedience, failure to do what God says, he did not go to the promised land. Can I tell you that God has a word? That God is saying something about going to your next season? And it's going to be according to your obedience, whether you get to go over to your promised land, to your next place. Because if we sit here and we sit in mourning, we sit in pity, we sit in the place of that I can't move, I can't get up, I can't go, it's disobedience. That's what God was saying to the children of Israel when he told them that Moses is dead. He said, get up from there. He said, you mourn long enough. Moses is gone. He's not coming back. But Joshua is here. I came to tell you that we're not going back. Destiny is here, and it's here now. And it's right for the taking. The question becomes, are we going to go over to the other side? Are we going to be one of those who go? I want to talk with you. I'm a person, I'll jot down notes everywhere, from envelopes to napkins to just all over the place. But Isaiah 45 talks about the sovereignty of our God. And I want to tell you, because God does that plan, one of the other verses that I do want to give you is Philippians 1:6. And I won't give you that verse because for those of you who may in any kind of way question whether or not God is able to help us in this place, whether or not God. Paul says in Philippians 1:6, he said, be confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you is able to complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. He's able. He's well able. As I said, God's not called God. God wasn't surprised when Trey got the offer that God already knew about it. God was in the working of that. God was in the planning of that. God was in the taking place of all of that. And he knew that we were going to be here this day, not knowing who the next leader was going to be. But God said, if you will trust me through it, if you will not fear, if you will know that I have a plan, and that I am well able to carry that out. I am well able to do the job. I am well able to finish the work that I started. See, we didn't do it. God has started a work. The Bible said the work that he had begun, and then he called it a good work. He didn't just do anything. He said a good work. He is able to complete it. He's able to perfect it. He's able to mature it. He's able to bring it to fruition. Can you believe God for that? As I said, I don't know who the next leader is. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know all of the ins and outs of the next place of destiny. I don't know all of what's going to happen in the next season. But I know that if we would trust God and lean not to our own understanding, God will perfect that thing. He will cause it to work for our good. Isaiah 45, I had him to get it, okay, it's supposed to be from the Message Bible, but that's fine, NIV. God's message to his anointed, to Cyrus, whom he took by the hand to give the task to tame the nations of terrifying their kings. He gave them free rein, no restrictions. I'll go ahead of you, clearing and paving the roads. I'll break down bronze city, gates smashed, padlocks, kick down barred entrances. I'll lead you to buried treasures, secret caches of valuables, confirmations that it is in fact I, God, the God of Israel, who calls you by your name. It's because of my dear servant Jacob Israel, my chosen, that I've singled you out, called you by name, and given you this privilege work, and you don't even know me. This is one of the main parts I want you to get. I am God, the only God there is. Besides me, there are no real gods. I'm the one who armed you for this work, though you don't even know me. So that everyone from east to west will know that I have no God rivals. I am God, the only God there is. I formed light and created darkness. I made harmonies and created discord. I, God, do all these things. Open up heavens and rain. I open up heaven and rain. Clouds pour out buckets of my goodness. Loosen up earth and bloom salvation. Sprout bright living. I, God, generate all this. But doom to you who fight your maker. You are a pot at odds with the potter. Does clay talk back to the potter? What are you doing? What clumsy fingers? Will a sperm say to a father, who gave you permission to use me to make a baby? Or a fetus to a mother, why have you cooped me up in this belly? Thus God, the holy Israel, Israel's maker, says, do you question who or what I'm making? Are you telling me what I can or cannot do? I made earth and I created man and woman to live on it. I handcrafted the skies and directed all the constellations in their turnings. And now I got Cyrus on the move. I've rolled out the red carpet before him. He will build my city. He will bring home my exile. I didn't have him to do this. I told him. I, God of the angel armies. God says the workers of Egypt, the merchants of Ethiopia, and those statued Sabaeans will all come over to you, all yours. Docile and chains, they'll follow you, hands folded in reverence, praying before your amazing God is with you. There is no other God, none. I'm going to stop right there. You see what he's saying? Everything that exists, everything that takes place, the creation of the world, creation of man, whatever takes place, God says, I'm God. I'm in control of it. I made it. I know all about it, from the forming of babies in mother's wombs to the light, speaking lights into existence, creating the stars and the moon and everything. He said, I'm God. I know what I'm doing. I know the plans that I have. And I am well able to bring to pass everything that needs to take place. Everything that needs to take place to take you into your next season. He says, I'm silent. I'm God. I'm God. And God says, I want you to know that. I want you to know that I got you. I want you to know that I'm not asleep on the job. I want you to know that I'm not ignorant concerning what is taking place with you. And then one of the other things that God told me was this. He said, you know what? I'm calling people from the place of fear, of worrying about how this is going to take place. What's going to happen when what's going to happen if we do that? What, how are we going to make it? No. He said, trust me. Trust me. Melissa was so prophetic in the songs that she sang this morning. And she had asked for those songs you sang at first I sent to, and the Holy Spirit just quickened me. Melissa is led by the Spirit. She's going to pray the worship. And I said, you do what God says. That's what God says I'm wanting you to do now. I want you to trust me. I want you to seek me. And I hear God just calling this remnant, this people, this group, this set, those who are faithful to trust Him. He says, we need to come together and pray. Can I tell you that there's nothing going to happen until you pray? Can I tell you that prayer actually does change things? That the effectual, fervent prayers of the righteous availeth much. He said, trust me and figure it out. Don't you try to figure out what we're going to do, what's the next step. Let's call so-and-so, let's do this and let's do. No. God, what would you have me to do? God, what's the next step? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Who you want me to call? Who do I talk to? And even to the point of God, if you have to use me. I'm willing, God. I'll be a vessel that you can use. Because God, what I want is what you want. And God says, I am God. There's none like me. There's not another God. No, not like this God. And we sing and we say, but we come to this place, and then we find ourselves, and we get timid, and we get afraid. But God said, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but a power and love and a sound mind. And how we're gonna come out of this and go to the next side, to the next season, is by trusting God, by seeking God, by holding on to one another and holding on to the Word, holding on to what Trey has already told us, holding on to the places where he taught us and where we've seen Him do the work. But yet then and still in that saying, like Paul said, forgetting those things that are behind me and pressing toward that what is before me. For many of us, the reason we can't get to the next place that God is calling us to is because we haven't let go of the place where we already are. God spoke that to me some years ago. He said, I can't put anything in your hand because you won't release what's already in there. You got your hands clenched so tight, trying to hold on to what I've already done. I can't do anything else because you've not made room for it. Will you make room for it? Will you make room for the next season? Will you trust God in this hour? And the good thing about the next and the new season is, just like I said, it's a season where God wants to mature us and to bring us into fruitfulness. But like I said, it's also a season where it's been designed to create greater productivity. Because though we may have accomplished some things before, there are greater things to be accomplished. Greater things to be done. More lives to be touched. In the hour we're living in now, with everything happening, with what is going on in our world, if ever there is a time when the church needs to rise, if ever there's a time when the church needs to be loud, if ever there's a time when the church needs to be seen, heard, moving, that time is now. That time is now. There's a greater need for Jesus than ever before. There's a greater need for Jesus than ever before. And God's calling us past the four walls. He's calling us out of religiosity and all those things, and He's calling us into a complete movement by the Spirit of God. Not what I heard somebody else say, but what I hear God saying. Greater, greater. It is time for the next season, the next great moment. It is time for the next move of God. And we can't do it sitting in grief. And that I'm speaking to myself. God just began to show me because of my situation, things I'm going through, and I won't just elaborate, but I've been walking through a place with my husband, and we've had so much loss come these days, in our family and everything. We've had loss to come, and sometimes you think you have moved from a place. You think you have, I'm better, and I've dealt with that. But grief has a way of locking on to you. And when you know it, before you know it, you come to a place where you can't move. Where you can't deal. Where you are just really just sitting there, and it looks like you're doing something because you're going through the motions of doing your everyday thing, but the reality is that you're stuck. When God began to show me that, He said, but T, I'm sorry. I'm God. And I am able to heal. I'm able to deliver. I'm able to restore. I'm able to redeem. I'm able to save. I'm able to do whatever is needed. All I need you to do is lay it at my feet. Know that I am God. There is none beside me. There's nobody greater. Nobody better. And I love that song that He loved me when I'm low. He loves me in spite. Wherever I am, He loves me. His love never runs out. I can't get away from Him. There's no place I can run that His love cannot find me, will not find me. And God says, I am the sovereign God. And I want to walk you through this place and love you through this place. I want to heal you in this place. I want to move you from this place. Because you know what? It would be a blessing to trade, to look back, to look and come and visit and see, you know what? They're flourishing. They're blessed. And to know that, yes, God gives me, I had a part in this. But they didn't let my leaving cause it to die right here. God said, this is not the end yet. This is not the end. This is a new beginning. This is another level. This is another step. This is another opportunity for God to be God in crossroads of life. Will you trust Him? Will you obey Him? Will you move? Will you pray? We can't just look to Billy for everything, for him to be around trying to do it, for the elders and all that. The church needs to come together. The church needs to pray. We need to be like Rhoda and her group when Peter was locked in jail. We need to be praying. We need to be praying until something happens. Praying until something happens. Because God is waiting on us. We're not waiting on Him, He's waiting on us. We totally give it to Him. He says nothing I can do.